here today, Commissioner David Madore and Mayor Tim Leavitt of Vancouver. Mayor Tim Leavitt was just recently elected, and Commissioner Madore has about a year, a little more than a year under his belt right now after being elected about a year ago. And this is Press Talk. For those of you who read the paper, I have a weekly column in the Columbian called Press Talk, and this really is an extension of my column. As anyone who is viewing this video can tell, it's being videoed. The interview is really going to be pretty wide-ranging. I plan on having questions both individually and together. Hopefully we'll get something accomplished. I'd rather you go all Richard Sherman on me as opposed to being politically correct with me.
Richard Sherman, can you define that? Well, what comes to mind when you? How do we do a Richard Sherman?
Well, you sort of go nuts.
Oh, okay.
And I'd rather you go nuts.
Mix it up a little bit there.
Right, I'd rather you go nuts with me or go nuts with each other than get in your shell and give me politically correct answers.
What shell?
Well, yeah. Well, we'll find out who has a.
Are you likening yourself to Aaron Andrews?
No. Although Aaron Andrews is a fellow Gator, I might add. But you can expect a much better second question from me if I don't think you've answered the first question very well. So that's my modus operandi. I think you guys actually know that. I don't consider myself an easy interview, but I think that is better for everybody involved, including those people who are potentially watching the video. All right. So again, thank you very much, seriously, for coming. I appreciate that. And if it's okay, I will start with a few questions. There's certainly a possibility that I'm going to cut you off. This isn't a political speechifying here, so hopefully we can get pretty tight on the answers if need be. But then again, I will also follow questions.
If you don't mind, I'd like to be able to just simply set the context. And that is, first of all, I think it's really good that we, as locally elected leaders, reach out to each other.
Yes, I agree.
You want to make sure I'm in
Yeah, what are you doing?
Can you see me still? Lou is really concerned.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So, two reasons why I'm here. One is that I love transparency, and you have agreed to play whatever you're recording here in its entirety, and I appreciate that. You don't legally have to do that, but you agreed to do that, and I appreciate that. And the second one is, whoever holds elected positions, it's really important that we work together, regardless of what differences we have. There's some common ground, and government just does better when local leaders work together. So for that reason, Mr. Tim Leavitt, I'd like to be able to shake your hand and say, we are leaders of the community, and we'll do whatever we can here in order to make our community win. So
that sounds great.
Great.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
Well, of course, Mayor Leavitt's answer, you have to read between the lines on that answer, of course. And
Are there in between the lines?
There are probably
of a one sentence there.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Because one of the things that I think Mayor Leavitt is probably alluding to there is sometimes things sound great, but they end up not being great, and there is a potential huge distinction between what people say and what people do. But having said that, let's start with sort of a baseline. And I'll ask Mayor Leavitt this question first. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the world's greatest thing for our community and 1 being an absolute loser, what do you think Commissioner Madore's impact on the community has been so far? And the question is a scale question, and then you could go into your answer.
Okay. I would say the impact is a 10.
Okay, let me ask the question a different way then.
Because that sounds very positive.
Yeah, right.
But
because
I'm sure that
this
there's
is
in between the lines there somewhere.
all right. So
There's more to that story.
on a scale of
One
one,
on a number, on impact.
on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being
Positive.
doing the really having a positive impact on the community, and 1 being an absolutely miserable impact on the community, what number do you give Commissioner Madore?
Well, I certainly would not be giving a 10 as the answer in that frame of
But what is
question.
the number?
I think the number is certainly below a 5.
Okay.
And not just my perception, but frankly what I read every day in the newspaper and what I hear from feedback in the community, including the letter to the letter that was published today, which frankly is not very flattering of either Commissioner Madore or Milky. And frankly, I believe hits the nail on the head. And I'll just say what I find entertaining about the paper these days is that virtually every day there is a letter to the editor that has some criticism of Commissioner Madore and Milky. And I just happen to think that the letter this morning hit the nail on the head. So from my perspective, and I think from a lot of folks out in the community that I speak with, there are a lot of things going on at the county right now that are very unfortunate.
Okay, let me thank you, Mayor Leavitt. Now let me ask you the same question, Commissioner Madore. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being Mayor Leavitt having a great positive impact on the community, and 1 being miserable, what score do you give Mayor Leavitt?
Well, I know that you like to press for an answer.
Yes, I do.
The best answer to that is by the people. Now, one thing here is that Mr. Leavitt got reelected here, which was a vote of confidence for the people in his district. That speaks for itself, right?
Right, but what's the number? I mean, Mayor Leavitt gave us a number. Mm-hmm. Again, what's the number? So that people can have some perspective on your view on the kind of positive or not positive impact he's having on the community. What's the number?
Well,
because otherwise you're going to look like you're just being evasive, and I don't want you to look that way.
You don't?
No, I do not.
You don't want me to look evasive?
Yeah, I don't want you to look evasive.
Okay, well, I'll give you a number. I'll middle of the road 5.
Okay.
Because really, we all face different issues, and we are called to lead. And we have differences, we have agreements, and we all have them. So I figure,
okay,
middle of the road.
Okay, very good. Now, I don't want you guys to say anything. I'm going to have to go back and get Paul, because I have no idea whether you're in the camera or not, because you move. Hold on.
I think I'm in the vision here, the viewfinder.
You probably could look in your monitor over there. Right?
Well, yeah, but that monitor is for... Hold on.
Sure, okay.
Hold on.
Apologies, Lou.
Yeah, that's okay. I know you were moving. Hey, Paul.
So it sounds like you read the paper on a regular basis.
Paul.
I wouldn't say on a regular basis, Commissioner, but I do check in just to see if there's news that they're reporting that I'm not already aware of. And
could you see if he's still on the lines?
I happened to look at it this morning. And I don't know if you've seen this or not, but it's a letter to the editor that is not very flattering, frankly.
Okay.
Which we deal with
I have
as
not
elected officials. But that one, I think, and believe me, I don't like to read negative things about myself, but I feel like I do gain some perspective. Mm-hmm. From folks that maybe are not willing to speak to me face to face, or folks that I don't interact with on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And so for that reason, I try to check in with letters to the editor, seeing how readers are feeling about things that are going on. And granted, some of the criticism is not warranted, some of it's not informed, but I think regardless, it's good to hear what people are thinking and what they're writing to the press.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you've sort of given. Appreciate that conversation. You've sort of given up on reading the Columbian. That would be a sort of an accurate statement, right?
Yes.
So,
I'll peek at it once in a while. I had a reporter call me yesterday, and he said, "I'd like to get a reaction from you." Steve Stewart announced that he's running for re-election. I thought, really? Oh,
he's running for re-election?
That's what I said. And I thought, well, that gives people another choice. And then I sat down and I said, I was in the middle of a meeting.
Who did that?
There's a fellow who wrote the story.
Well, Stephanie wrote the story, but
no, it wasn't Stephanie. And so I turned back to my computer and there was an email that said, "I want to make sure you heard me correctly. That he's announced he's not running for re-election." I thought, oh. I responded back and I thought, well, I'll tell you what. When I hear it directly, then I'll get the straight scoop. And then I thought I'll check the site, and sure enough, you guys had a little blurb there that he decided he wasn't going to run for re-election.
So,
which is more expected on my part.
Right. So how happy does that make you?
Well, what I responded is that it really is an exciting opportunity for the people to choose a new leader, and that's always an exciting thing. But I can work with anyone. And we have been. One thing that I really like is that we've been recording our audio of our meetings, board time, and the CBTV covers our county commissioner meetings. I like that, and so you look at that interaction there, and I feel like it's healthy. That's good. It's important, whatever the differences are, that we be civil and that we do the people's business in public. That's a good thing. Would
you have considered, or do you consider Commissioner Stewart a thorn in your side?
No. We certainly had our differences, and probably the most obvious one is, I figured at the time, I don't know, but I figured at the time, the most important vote that occurred last year was on September 26th, and when Commissioner Stewart voted to sign that TriMet contract, I figured he's not running for re-election. There's no way he can get re-elected after that. That was a surprise to everybody. So I figured from that point, he's not going to run.
I want to come back to you in a second, but you don't work directly with Commissioner Stewart, Mayor Leavitt, but obviously you work with the county, and you know Steve. What impact do you think it will have that Commissioner Stewart has decided not to run for re-election?
Well, I have deep respect for Commissioner Stewart. I think he has been an admirable representative of Clark County, and particularly the district, his commissioner district. I know he cares deeply about this community that he grew up in. I know that his interest is in solving problems and moving things forward in our community, and I think it's really, unfortunately, and Commissioner Stewart's comments, I think, were very clear about it. The atmosphere and the description of the job has changed, and I can only imagine how frustrating it is for him to go into work every day knowing that he is going to be fighting a battle that's a losing cause, because history shows for the past 2 years now that or the past year, that he's in an uphill battle when it comes to his perspective on the issues facing our community, and whether it's the hiring of Don Benton, or relationships with other agencies, or integrity resolutions, or prayer at meetings. The list goes on, and at some point you get beaten down enough and frustrated enough that you decide, as he said, life is too short. I want to move on to something where I feel like I can make a positive difference. And so it's unfortunate for our community that he's moving on. He's decided it's just not worth his health, and the security of his family, just his family life, his personal life, to continue on as the county commissioner in our community. But he's an intelligent man. He's got a lot going for him. I expect that he'll continue to be involved in our community, in one way or another, politically or otherwise.
Okay. So now we have this opportunity of having a new county commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've noted the name of Representative Paul Harris as a possible county commission candidate. What?
A year ago. Uh-huh.
Yeah, some time ago, absolutely. So, what do you see, Commissioner Madore, as your involvement in the upcoming election for county commissioner?
Well, certainly I encourage individuals from the private sector to step up. If ever we had an opportunity where people who know how to employ, how to create jobs, how to move our community forward, this is that opportunity. One of the key things is, I think that one of the differences that we have is the role as defined by an elected representative. In one view, is that you get elected to basically set your agenda, to do what you feel like, regardless of what the people say. The people end their influence after they get elected, and I don't think that's the way it should be. Because when I got elected, I got elected as a representative. As a representative, I listen. And if people say they want to go this way or they want to go that way, within the limits of the law, as a representer of their wishes, that's what I'm going to carry out to the best of my ability.
But understood. But what do you believe your role will be in an upcoming election? And let me be more specific with a question. Do you think the way that you are, or the way that you are perceived in Clark County now, do you think you would be a benefit or a detriment to jumping on somebody's election bandwagon?
Well, first of all, I have a lot of confidence in the people. And we all have influence. My influence, what influence would I encourage? Well, I would say that there's two ways to run for election. One is that you can say, pay a political consultant what do the people want to hear, and just say that and get elected. Then after you get elected, you do what you want. And the other is, you be as specific as you can, list out all the different things you would do if you got elected. Here's the vision, here's the agenda. If you want me to, if you want that, I'm your guy. If you don't want that, I'm not your guy. So whoever runs, my influence would be transparent, be specific, cast a vision. This is what the future would look like if if you elect me.
Fair enough. But let me again ask the question more directly.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody hitches their name, they're running for office, somebody hitches their name to your name, does that help them or hurt them? And that's a yes, it helps, it hurts. Which one do you think that is right now?
Well, hopefully they'll look at the person, and so am I the guy? No, I don't think so. But I can tell you this, over the last probably 4 years or so, because I see our community going, because I saw the community going in a direction it shouldn't go. We were going in stagnation. We were going in decline, or things were going the wrong way. You look at any of the elections, it was jobs, 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 jobs. Everybody was saying jobs, and then when they get elected, well, then all the signs go down. So what would you do? I got very much involved from sticking my head out of the business that I was very much involved in, and saying, hey, who can I find to help lead this community? Who cares about this community? Who can exercise good judgment? And I searched, and I would help to encourage and to sponsor and contribute to and help those individuals get elected. Because if you care about your community, you're going to do what you can to make a difference. So what would I do on this one? Well, I would start by encouraging individuals who have a good track record, that have the qualifications. If your house is in order, if your business is in order, if you have a good track record of being a good steward over your stuff and your money and your resources, and you've been already just simply got enough experience behind you so that you're making mistakes you made your mistakes on your dime rather than the public's dime, I encourage them to run. And if I find somebody that's really a good choice, I'll get behind them. Absolutely, I would help them and I would encourage them to run.
Well, so if Paul Harris decides to run, you'd get behind him.
He's a good guy.
That's
He's
what I
got
mean.
a good track record.
Right. So
I certainly encourage him, and I
you would get
I'll
behind
support him. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think other people too.
Okay.
It really has to do with what. In fact, one thing really good about somebody that's already been in public service, they got a track record, and you can tell what would they do because their history indicates what end of the rope are they going to pull on.
Understood. And by that answer, it's fair for me to assume that you believe that when somebody connects their name with your name, it's a benefit to their election.
If we have a common ground, absolutely. Because if people share my vision, they'll share that vision. If there's a difference, so it really has to do with what end of the rope you're going to pull on.
Mayor Leavitt, you're kind of a political animal as well. I guess anybody who is in politics is a bit of a political animal. How do you view that from your standpoint? And I'm going to ask you, first of all, the question about you on occasion will endorse candidates in other offices, support them. Do you think your endorsement to candidates today, the way that you are perceived, would be helpful or would it hurt them?
Well, as Commissioner Madore pointed out, my vision and my leadership was recently reaffirmed by the citizens of Vancouver. So I have to believe, given those circumstances, that if I choose to endorse a candidate, that it would be a positive for that candidate. And when I'm looking at individuals that I want to support, I'm looking for individuals who I believe are reasonable, who I believe are capable of handling difficult issues and reasoning through difficult issues, who are open and willing to discuss issues with other elected leadership and individuals in our community. And so there's not an ideological base for who I support. There's not a party line base for who I support. I've supported both Republicans and Democrats and independents over the years. People who I think generally care about the community and want to do the right thing and are going to be reasonable. I mean, the reality is, in this day and age, you have a lot of people yelling on this side, a lot of people yelling on this side, and those arenas are broadening. And the folks that are in the middle that really want to get something done, that recognize that compromise is necessary and moderation is necessary, are getting squeezed out. And so to the extent that I, as the mayor of this city, who I believe sits in this middle ground, can help candidates who want to be in that middle ground, who recognize that their own personal ideology is not beneficial to getting issues resolved and moving forward, I'm going to support those candidates.
Now, we recently went through a city council election. 2 city council members were newly elected. With this same theme, do you think that Commissioner Madore had any influence on those elections, and if so, how?
Well, I'm frankly not aware if Commissioner Madore had any direct personal involvement in any of the elections. But I think the mail pieces that came out during the election alluded to, well, they didn't allude to, they were very direct, to a panel of candidates, a slate of candidates that all shared the same or very similar ideology, which I believe is in line with Commissioner Madore. And numerous mail pieces came out encouraging people to support those candidates, and that whole slate of candidates lost. So do I want to say that Commissioner Madore had some influence on that? I don't know. I don't frankly recall if those mail pieces specifically named Commissioner Madore, but I think that the broader point is the ideology and the perspective and this frankly, some of the rhetoric out there that our community is going into the pits, that there's corruption, that we're being taxed and feed out of our homes. That kind of rhetoric did not play with the citizens of the city of Vancouver across the board, and so to the extent I think that Commissioner Dorr shares some of those beliefs, there's probably some association. And some of those candidates tried to stay away from an association with Commissioner Madore in their comments in the public, in the forums, which tells me that they were concerned that an association with the commissioner would be detrimental. And so did that cause them to lose an association with the commissioner? I can't say. Maybe some surveys after the fact with folks would be more enlightening. But
what's your view on the city council races and what kind of an impact you may have had, negative or positive?
Well, actually, one thing that helps me really, really sleep well at night is to know that it's not about me. This is about the people. And when it comes to elections and when it comes to what direction are we going to focus on in the future, I think one of the most important things that anybody who's going to run for office, what they can bring to the table, is to present a vision, is to present an optimistic view of the future that says, here are the problems, here are the solutions, and here's how we can get there. That's leadership. Leadership starts with a vision of a better future, a focus that says I can get things done, a commitment that says I'm willing to work and to collaborate with others and bring them together, and a faith in the people and the faith in the process to get it done. We're really right now at a crossroads. We've already issued stop work orders. We've abandoned the biggest project in our history. Oregon is likely to do the same. It's just a matter of how long does this zombie gasp its last breath before it finally goes away. And then they're what? What now? And that's where we can work together with a new start. And that's one reason why I'm here, is because I'm really curious to know what can we do in order to move our community forward with a new vision. You know that I'm very excited about the East County Bridge. You've seen, in fact, I brought here, because I love graphics, I love visuals. This is kind of a vote of confidence in the...
Show it to the camera.
Okay, this is a vote of confidence in the CRC project. The blue says, nah, this ain't it. And the red says, yeah, it is. Okay, that doesn't get more dramatic than that.
Okay.
This represents the majority vote of every precinct, 228 of them, in Clark County. And that speaks, really doesn't get more dramatic. And so, okay, give them another vision, give them another idea. This is the East County Bridge.
Show it to the camera.
I'm showing it to the camera,
okay.
Okay, so offer an alternative, a new vision, a new alternative. And this looks like pretty good support.
All right,
this is say not that way. This one says that way. And I would think that we have an opportunity for us to be able to work together to champion something new. And whoever's going to come forward as a new candidate to also say which way you want to go.
Okay, so you like alternative ideas. You like alternative.
I do.
Concepts.
I'm an inventor kind of idea guy.
Although I'm assuming you would agree that there may be some that might be a little bit out there. I mean, I'm not saying recently proposed.
Of course.
Right. Well, let's say I come up with this idea. Let's say I come up with an idea that says, I got an alternative to light rail. What we'll do is we'll buy some helicopters and ferry people across the Columbia River with a helicopter to eliminate the need for much of light rail. What would you say to that?
I would say you're kind of nearsighted. I would expand your focus and ask yourself, what's the point? What are we trying to solve here? What's the problem and what's the solution? And
so on a scale of 1 to 10, with my helicopter idea being the world's greatest idea, to a 1, which is the guy needs to get his head examined, where does that lie?
Well, actually, it has 2 categories to it. The first one is the process of brainstorming. That says throw every idea you got out there and just put them on the board, and then we'll evaluate them. So that gets a 10, All of them get a 10 at the very beginning.
Okay, now
and then they compete with each other and say, okay, let's end up with practical to sort out those priorities. And that way, that one will naturally go down.
Where does it lie?
It lies in the most impractical sense of things. In fact,
well, give me a number.
Well, that one?
Yeah,
I would say that's a 2.
Okay.
No.
Now hold on a second.
That's a 0.
Okay. Now hold on.
I don't know where that came from. It's a 0.
Okay.
In
now
fact, it might even be a -2.
All right. Now hold on a second. So anyway.
Wait, you got notes in this?
So anyway, back in 1995. We wrote a story, and here was the headline: "Helicopters, a light rail alternative." Let me read
about as practical.
And let me read you the lead.
Pretty good. Okay.
Let me read you the lead.
That was 1995.
Let me read you the lead.
It sounds like you were more clear thinking back then.
Well, wait a second. It wasn't me.
Obviously.
State Representative Don Benton has a suggestion to alleviate freeway congestion: passenger helicopters. I did a little research, he announced at a State House subcommittee hearing on public transit in Camas on Monday. For about $25 million, you can buy the most up-to-date helicopter equipment. Then you could airlift people by helicopter directly to work and save the cost of a light rail line. This is your man. This is your man, Don Benton.
I'm reassured that he's thought about it before I did, because I also suggested not only that, but jet aircraft and whatever limousines, the extreme that you could. In fact, we could probably do better than that. We could buy them helicopters, teach them to pilot it, and go back and forth for the cost of what, billions and billions of dollars.
So
that's a lot of helicopters.
So have you changed your mind? Have you decided now that the helicopter idea is a good idea?
Well, it's about as good as the light rail idea, which is. It's like, so what this look. I've got a little object here in my pocket. This is an iPhone.
I got one.
5, okay, and this has specifications. And I know something about product design, and here's how I do it. We end up with a list of priorities. This one is non-negotiable. You got to do it. I mean, it's got to talk to the cell tower, and you got to have so many different parameters. And finally, you get down to dust on the scale. Like, what color is it? Okay, it's still going to be fully functional. And that prioritization, for one thing's a little more important than the other, is how we make decisions. It's a trade-off.
Commissioner, how much time would you personally have spent on the idea that we should think about ferrying people over the Columbia River in a helicopter to alleviate light rail? How much time would you have given that idea?
Well, what I would do is I would compare that idea to the other idea. Okay. So they're about the same. They're about as impractical as light rail. Okay. And so both of them, they're silly, right?
Right.
They're both silly.
Right.
And so there are more practical solutions. What do we? I mean, I love the definitions of words, and I love the definition of truth. Truth is the understanding of reality. Now, when you got to work, we all got to work here today. How did we get here? Did we take light rail? Did we take even a bus? What's important to the people in our community? How do we really get around?
We not
drive our cars.
We did not take a helicopter either.
And neither did we take light rail, right?
Right, okay.
Right. And why didn't we take a helicopter? Because there are more practical ways for us to get around.
Well,
we have this personal transportation device that will go anywhere we want it to go. And it's economical, right. It's portable, and that's how we get around in our community. There are those that think the car is a thing of the past.
Okay.
Jim Moeller thinks, forget cars. We're gonna move into this world where public transportation is the only thing we need. We don't even need cars.
Okay. Let me.
That's not reality.
Right. Mayor Leavitt, in terms of bridge and light rail, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because all of us have already spent a ton of time, not just in this interview, I'm talking about like for the last decade or so. But if you look down the road 10 years, do you think that we will have light rail coming to Vancouver in 10 years?
Well, given the current circumstances and the positions of certain individuals in elected office, it's less and less optimistic for me. I think we have plenty of examples to look at, other communities that have denied choices in mobility in their communities, whether it's Seattle or Los Angeles or Honolulu, for example, who chose, for whatever reason, not to invest in multiple modes of mobility in their community, and now they're playing catch-up, right? Seattle is furiously attempting to get a better transit system constructed. Los Angeles, the voters there passed a measure to support the funding and robust construction of light rail and bus rapid transit in their community. It's been said that if we don't get our act together here, that the monies that FTA has set aside, the Federal Transit Administration has set aside for light rail, will likely go to Hawaii, where they have mass traffic congestion. I think, one of the differences between the commissioner and I is that I believe in providing people with choices. And nobody is suggesting that through construction of light rail or bus rapid transit that we're moving away from a recognition that a lot of people like to drive their cars. In fact, the city of Vancouver is going out to the public in the very near future to talk to them about how we better fund our road construction program.
Great.
The issue is that a lot of people, for whatever reason, choose public transit, and there's also a recognition that we're going to become more and more congested. We're going to end up being like a Seattle, like some areas of Portland, including the east side, where there's a suggestion that we should put another crossing. Banfield is one of the worst freeways in the metro area for traffic congestion. We need to provide transit alternatives to people who want to choose to get out of their car or maybe can't drive a car. And the I-5 corridor, there's anybody who argues that the I-5 corridor is functional for 2014 clearly is not living in reality. We have two crossings, one's almost 100 years old. We have interchanges that are highly unsafe. We have traffic congestion that continues to mount. The reason why I-5 is so busy is because it's where the jobs are. Thinking that somebody is going to want to cross the Columbia River at 192nd Avenue or further east to get to downtown Portland, rerouting from downtown Vancouver, or even the folks that live in East County where there's not a lot of population. So this idea that somehow a bridge is going to relieve a lot of congestion here and it's going to solve our economic woes that are going to continue to occur with traffic congestion, it's going to solve travel time issues and safety in the I-5 corridor, it really is not reality. Now, that said, I sat on the Regional Transportation Council subcommittee that identified both high-capacity transit for the future of Clark County and corridors of the future for Clark County. And that plan, from the committee I sat on, identified another crossing in East County. But that crossing isn't viable for decades. And why? For a number of reasons. Population isn't there to support it. It's not a state or a federal highway system, so the feds or the state, neither the state or the feds are going to come in with any funding. Public-private partnership means that, well, you pay for that crossing in some way, $1 billion crossing, and that's tolling. And so these advisory votes that I know the commissioner appreciates and likes to reflect upon, saying that, would you like a toll-free bridge? Mm-hmm. East Vancouver, West Vancouver. Well, you know what? I would like a free car. I would like a free bridge too. But the reality is somebody pays for it, and a public-private partnership is a tolling project. The feds and the states, if they aren't coming to the table because it's not a highway, it's all on the locals to pay for those crossings. So anyway, I would prefer that we talk about the real issues that are facing our community, and that really is the I-5 crossing. It is a disaster. It's a disaster waiting to happen if there's a major earthquake, accidents every day, traffic congestion, etc. I mean, we've got to do something about this, and you've heard this before from me. but the way I like to operate is really exemplified by the quote from Abraham Lincoln. That is, you cannot escape the responsibilities of tomorrow by evading them today. We have got to bite the bullet and do the right thing for today, for the future of our community. That means fixing this crossing. That means improving the public transit system. And then, when appropriate, when viable, when even feasible and practical, consider another crossing and get our Oregon partners, who, remember, we have to land a structure in that state, on board.
Okay. Commissioner Madore, let me ask a question on a crossing, and you can expand on it, of course, as well. I'm going to change the time frame a little bit. What do you see 5 years from now? If we were sitting here 5 years from now, what would we be talking about relative to some infrastructure change in the Columbia River? 5 years from now.
5 years from now, I think we'll be standing there at the East County Bridge saying, and they said they couldn't build it.
Okay.
No kidding.
Okay.
And it's toll-free. I like to make 3 points. First of all, I think it's the wrong question to say, should we have light rail or will we have light rail in 10 years? And I would say, the people already said no. So if we were to say yes against this, I'd say, well,
but 10 years, we don't know what might change in 10 years.
Well, the history is
today. Yes,
the history is a pretty good indicator of what we can expect for the future. We started asking this question in 1994. This went to the voters in 1994. They 2-1. They said no. Okay. They said also in 2011 they said no, and in 2013 they said no. Be pretty good trend. So we can expect that unless something significantly changes, and it could, that it's going to continue to be an impractical solution. That's the first point I'd like to make.
Right, so 10 years from now, you don't think we would have light rail either?
No, because it's not appropriate now, and there's all the projections that go all the way out to 45 years from now on the way of tolls to fund this light rail project say that congestion is going to keep increasing even with that. If I could just finish the 2 points. The second one is that the mayor indicated that the I-84, the Banfield Freeway, is one of the most congested freeways out there, and I agree. And the question is, what relief has the light rail that was built right alongside that I-84 done to solve that problem? Because if you look at that, I love to be able to look at Google Earth and just zoom in and see, and there's the I-84. They've eaten all of the shoulders, and they've locked themselves in, and there is, right next to it, this space that could have been extra lanes, and they consumed it with light rail. And the promise was, if we build light rail alongside that freeway, guess what? It's going to solve the congestion. And it's become a congestion disaster. And we know that firsthand. And so, that same promise, let's build light rail south of the bridge on the I-5, just right next to it. And they did it. And it's one of the most congested corridors every day, right? And so, we're not done with insanity yet, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, right? So let's build it also along the I-205, from the south of the bridge all the way up to Clackamas and beyond. And that's going to solve congestion there too. And now as we come across the bridge, I-205, Glen Jackson Bridge, and we sit there in traffic because it necks down to 3 lanes, and we look at that light rail space that could have been extra lanes, and has it solved that problem? It's actually made it worse, because you pick one when it comes to infrastructure. You either build light rail or you improve your roads. So, 3 times, 3 promises, and here's the 4th one. Hey, let's build light rail here, and it will solve congestion as well as it did those other 3 places. Now, is this an IQ test? I think it's pretty obvious that we shouldn't do that. The third point I want to make is funding. 30 years ago, what was it, 31 now? It was only 31 years ago that we built the I-205, the Glen Jackson Bridge. And you would think that there is no means of funding that. How are we ever going to fund infrastructure? Well, 30 years ago isn't that long ago. We built that beautiful bridge. It's toll-free. It's paid for. It was without debt. And we didn't spend $180 million trying to study it. They just built it. we did it before. We can do it again. There's one way that our Northwest region is unique, and that is we end up spending an extraordinary amount of money on projects that end up being just to study them, and then when you finally get to the project, they're like 50 to 60 or more times more expensive than what you would expect they would cost. The SR 520 up north, 67 times the cost of what should cost, billions of dollars. What we can do, and what we're in the process of doing, is to welcome private industry to come in and say, just look at our area and give us a proposal, start to finish, include everything, total package price, and here it is, and we'll offer it to us, and we'll debate it, whether or not we want to change it or accept it, and assume it's going to be so practical and low cost that it's not going to require tolls. And we will have that package in our hands this year, and we will look at that. And I expect it's going to be in the range of. I certainly it's going to be less than $900 million for a brand new bridge, start to finish, without any cost overrun possibility, and it will be toll free. And I expect it to be closer to hundreds of millions of dollars less than that. And so we'll look at the community can look at that and say, would we buy that for less money than it would take just for the down payment of this other multi-billion-dollar toll project?
And will we have broken ground 5 years from now, do you think?
Yes, I actually think we'll have it well on its way, if not completed by then.
Okay, all right.
Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Watch us go.
Okay, all right.
And this is not David speaking. This is our community getting together. When we unite on a simple, practical, affordable project that we can actually say, oh, there it is, let's do it. Then we finally can work together, and we can do bigger things after that.
If you were a betting man, how much money would you bet that thing will be started in 5 years?
I'm not a betting man.
But if you were.
But what I do.
But if you were.
Okay, well, what I am, I'll tell you, actually, in a way, you're really asking, am I committed to this? How much am I committed to this? I'm committed to this to make this my number one project for this year.
Okay.
And I will put in to me, time is more valuable than money.
Okay.
So I'm putting as much of my time into this project to provide the leadership, and really, this guy here, this was a request for the citizens. Do you want us to do that? And you know what that said? It said, we commission you, county commissioners, to be the champions, to be the leaders, to make that happen. Have at it. They commissioned us to do that. I'm going to do my job.
All right. Let me try to get I want to move along just a little bit quicker here. Parks. Do you think that what's at play today, and I'm not going to go through the entire history of it, although the synopsis of the concept is the county is pulling away a little bit in what it had been giving the city to help run parks. Do you think where we're at today, generally speaking, better serves residents of our community relative to parks, or worse serves them?
Well, first of all, we have completely become independent of our parks. County runs county parks, the city runs city parks, and I would be very surprised if anybody was to say our parks are not in good condition. They're in great shape.
Okay, but
in fact, we're building 3 more parks this year.
So we're better, as far as you're concerned, we're better off.
Oh, absolutely, and people are using them because they can get in. We've restored the free use of our parks. There is no fee to get in. Enjoy them. They're one of the best assets we have for the Northwest.
Thank you. What's your view on that, Mayor Leavitt?
Well, I can't speak to the county parks, but I know the city parks, we're doing the best we can, given the circumstances. With the splitting of the relationship between the city and the county, it's unfortunately created additional costs for the taxpayers of the city of Vancouver, because rather than sharing staff people, for example, who schedule the ball fields, there was one staff person doing that for both the county and the city, for example. Because the commissioners took a path of separating from the city, we now need somebody at the city who is going to do that, and now just do it for city parks and city ball fields. So there is an additional cost that was created for the taxpayers of the city of Vancouver with the separation. But, we have a great legacy of parks and trails in Southwest Washington, and that legacy has been challenged over the past decade with the cuts in funding, whether it's federal and state funding, grant programs, or the revenues available at the local level. So, we went out a couple of years ago, asked the voters if they were interested in more strongly supporting our parks program, and they said no. And so we take that message back and revisit our priorities, and we're making do with the resources we have available. Now, people still use our parks; they enjoy our trails. The complaints about the level of maintenance increases as the availability of staff decreases, which is a natural occurrence. But we're going to continue to. One of the big park projects that we have, of course, is the Waterfront Park, which that project is a game changer for Southwest Washington. That'll be a 10-acre public park, reconnecting the city and our citizens with the waterfront, the extension of the Waterfront Trail, the Columbia Renaissance Trail. So, it is a great legacy that we have here. It's unfortunate that there has been a separation in some sense between the county and the city. I know that folks that have been engaged a long time in this community on parks and recreation are very disappointed, but given the political climate, it's understandable. So we're going to continue to do what we need to do. The good thing about the city of Vancouver is that we are on a trajectory. Our goal, my goal, the council's goal, is to become a world-class urban city, and that vision that I laid out, and others who ran for office in this last election season, was reaffirmed with our re-election to office. And that vision also included replacement bridge and extension of light rail transit into Vancouver. And so, I appreciate the commissioner's position, but to say that we want to honor the will of the voters re-elected me, and they elected 3 other individuals to the Vancouver City Council who share a vision for robust transit system, forced plane, bus rapid transit, share a vision of a replacement of this antiquated infrastructure and the extension of light rail. So, frankly, from my perspective, I would appreciate a respect of the voters' will in that sense, because I represent the city of Vancouver, and that project is in the city of Vancouver, and there's a reason why the county commissioners have not had a direct role in the project since day one, because none of the project occurs outside of the city limits of Vancouver.
Okay. A couple of more quick questions, and then I'll go to what I would call a sort of a closing comment from both of you, if that's okay.
Sure. If I could just
add
one little
sure.
thing here. And in addition to building the parks, and our parks are in excellent shape. They're in great shape, and we're building more, and we're building more trails. The trail system throughout Clark County is a very important asset. It's a fabulous asset. This East County Bridge I'm talking about, it's not just for cars. There is a wonderful trail system on the south side of the bridge as well. And just like the 205, there's a trail system that connects there. You can ride your bike across the 205. This also connects and includes the trail system connection and wonderful bike and pedestrians across that new bridge, and connects on our side of the river as well. So that trail system, let's connect them all together. And that's one way that the city and the county can integrate a plan that will help us to connect all these little segments together so that we can ride from one area to the other area and enjoy this amazing outdoor Northwest beauty that we have. Okay. I love trails and I love parks. They're in great shape. We're building more. And by the way, we can also do it smarter. We're actually saving money and serving the citizens better when it comes to our reservation system. It used to be you'd have to call somebody up and you'd end up with having, in order to try to book things. Well, you don't normally do that with airline reservations these days. So the county is wrapping up a system where citizens can have the same kind of convenience for reserving for special events or for the sports parks the same way online, the same way that you can when you do airline reservations.
Okay.
So it's smarter, costs a whole lot less money, and serves citizens better.
Okay. Some questions and possibly some quick answers.
Yeah.
We know there's been a great deal of controversy over the hiring of Senator Don Benton in the Environmental Services Director position in the county. The recent decision by Senator Benton to threaten a lawsuit against a citizen for speaking against his hiring. Now, I know that at a county commission meeting you had said that he had not given you any advance warning of that. But I was more curious about your view on someone like a Don Benton, or anyone for that matter, who works for the county, who also is an elected official, threatening a lawsuit against a private citizen like that. What's your view on the fact that he actually threatened a lawsuit for somebody who was speaking out against him?
Well, first of all, if you know me, you know that freedom of speech is one of those things that is I'm a champion of. I love freedom of speech.
So?
And so when it comes to this whole thing of Don Benton, he's unqualified.
No, I'm not asking you about that. I'm asking your opinion on his decision to have an attorney send him a letter threatening a lawsuit for speaking against him. What's your view on that?
You know, I think it
go,
adds...
Go Richard Sherman on me, but don't...
You want to hear my view?
Yeah, but I want a straightforward answer, please.
It's coming.
Okay.
The straightforward answer is that this whole thing is based on misinformation. And the spin of this is really what it's founded on. The man has endured this week after week after week of what I call frequent flyer individuals, those individuals that just make that county commissioner hearing room their home, and they're welcome to it, but it ends up being a bubble. And when people repeat the same thing over and over and over, after a while they think it's just true. And the assertion is he's not qualified, and so therefore he's being attacked, and you can't say that. Well, really, you and I sat at this table before I got elected, and we talked about a lawsuit. You recall that? The county was being sued because we were not complying with the stormwater.
No, I understand
right?
that.
And not only that, but we also weren't issuing permits. The development was in a standstill.
But you're back on whether or not he's qualified. I understand that we're going to. I understand
that
we're going to
disagree. Is what I'm talking about.
Right, and I understand that you and others may disagree about that. I'm asking you specifically about whether you felt it was appropriate to have Don Benton have an attorney send this citizen a letter threatening a lawsuit for speaking out against him. Did you feel it was appropriate?
You know...
Yes or no?
I can understand that.
Okay, so you felt it was appropriate.
Yeah, I give people the benefit of the doubt. And I tell you why.
You don't give Ed Barnes the benefit of the doubt for bringing it up?
I welcome Ed Barnes every day, and I maximize his freedom of speech.
Don't you feel he might be threatened by that lawsuit?
Ed Barnes?
Yeah.
No. He's a union leader. He's an organizer. He knows that's not a threat. Okay.
All right.
He's a big boy. Okay. He's not worried about that.
Oh.
He's just making political, fodder with whatever you can with it.
So you're fine with the lawsuit?
Yeah, I think it's a spin on the whole thing. What the real issue here is, what has been that spin on Don Benton, and what I like to be able to do is look at. It's been a year now, and you would think if that guy's not qualified, that would become pretty obvious by now, right?
Okay, fair enough.
But I can tell you, maybe you don't want to go there because
I'm just saying that wasn't the question.
Would reveal that.
But that wasn't the question.
Well, the question really, but what I like to do, you
wanted to rephrase the question.
You brought up Don Benton, and this is my opportunity to stand up for a guy who's done a stellar job, because you know that the county, in our report we just had, is doing great on issuing permits, and we are in full compliance with DES, and that Department of Environmental Services is winning awards.
Okay.
If he wasn't qualified, how's that happening?
You think he's good for morale over there?
Yeah, he is.
Do you think you're good for morale over there at the county?
Well, I hope I am.
Okay.
I'm a nice guy, okay?
I'll give you this.
I love people.
I'll give you this, Commissioner. You've got a great smile. You have got a great smile. Okay.
I have reason to smile.
All right.
I'm an optimist. I can see the potential in people and turn them loose and let them succeed.
Okay. All right. Next question. You're one of the few politicians who didn't answer this question, so I'm going to ask you this question. Have you ever smoked marijuana?
I have not. I had a real smart mama. And my mom, when I was about 9th grade, she said, I want to tell you about dope. And I thought, dope? What's that? She said...
She was calling you a dope?
She was calling that stuff dope.
Oh, okay.
And she said, it's like... And she described this thing, and I thought, why in the world would you want to fry your brain? I thought, that's stupid. I wouldn't do that. Smart mom. And so I was warned by my mom.
Wait a second.
I got a mom and dad. And I thought, this thing, I'm going to protect this brain my whole life. I'm not going to lower that IQ with that stuff.
How did you get through the 60s without smoking a little weed?
You know, if you go back and you look at the pictures in my family, and a lot of them are out there, you find out that I'm the guy that didn't conform. When the Beatles haircuts came out, there's my haircut, just like it is today, you know? And so that peer pressure and all that stuff, I thought, that's stupid.
Okay. All right.
Why would I do that?
All right, last question before the close. So on your Facebook page, you...
By the way, I also don't drink alcohol.
Oh, okay.
And I never have.
All right.
And because I'm thinking, well...
And you don't gamble?
No.
What's your worst vice?
I guess working too hard.
Oh, stop with that answer. That's the kind of answer somebody gives when you're
interviewing
interviewing for
wife.
a job.
Ask my wife.
You work too hard.
Well, are you married? That's your worst vice if you're married.
All right.
But I can tell you, the reason I said I don't drink is because I respect people that do. And we championed wineries as a new industry.
Right.
And so in this whole thing about marijuana, I don't touch marijuana. But,
and you never did.
And I never did.
Right.
But I'm a maximizer of people's liberty.
Okay.
To the degree that it's legal. If it's not legal, sorry, I'm going to keep my oath.
All right. On your Facebook page, we know you're not big fans of the Columbian.
What made you think that?
Geez, I don't know. On your Facebook...
I don't read very much fiction these days.
Okay, very good. On your Facebook page, you suggested that you're going to be starting up a new newspaper. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, in 2014. This is the date. We've got to make sure we get the right leadership in place.
Is it okay? Rapid fire. Will it be a daily newspaper?
It will post daily. It will post the relevant stories.
Is it going to be print?
Well, will it be print? You know, there probably will be some print versions of it.
Yeah.
But the digital media, the print media is doing this, and the digital media is going that.
But
we're all doing this.
Right, but you already have Coup.com. How is this different than that?
Coup.com was, anytime you build a prototype, anytime you want to go into an area, you experiment, and you build a prototype, and you get your feet wet, and you do something to kind of explore.
Is this an extension of Coup.com?
I'm an experimenter.
Yes.
It's a superset. Coup.com is kind of like a sample prototype of, okay, I'll get a little familiar with it. So we have wonderful resources. We have a beautiful studio. We've got the state-of-the-art equipment. We've got a beautiful sound studio.
So more likely,
technical staff that's full-time that mans that.
More likely radio and video and web than print. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I would say print will very likely be a part of it because we're in this transition where print, people still like print, but they're doing this with it.
Right, we know that.
But they really are wanting the digital media, which can deliver so much better.
Right. So you think
so during the transition, yeah, I think it's appropriate to have both.
So you think
we still get advertising flyers in the newspaper for shopping. I think yes, it'll include that.
So do you think that'll be again a daily print product?
Well, I don't know about daily print product.
Maybe it'll be more likely a weekly.
It'll probably be weekly print, but daily certainly on Clark County Stories.
You have anybody on board yet to help run this thing?
There's 2 technical staff. They've been there,
and
they're terrific.
I'm talking about content people.
No, and that's the key. You've got to be able to have the top-notch professionals who are willing to tell the truth and follow it wherever it leads.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Don Benton could be a good editor? Would you consider hiring him as maybe the editor of the paper?
Would you?
Not me. No,
Okay.
no, not me. First of all, no.
We each have our strengths. Okay, he's not an editor.
Oh, okay.
And we
how about
learn
you?
I wouldn't call myself an editor, but I can tell you that it's important that each of us learn how to communicate. And you know, I'm a Facebook guy. I write all my stuff. I'm the guy behind the keyboard.
You got some of it got to get pulled back too. What's up with that?
What's that?
You had something on your Facebook page to your attorney said, "Hey, get rid of it." What's up with that? I'm surprised you even listened to him. Come on. All right.
You keep wanting to revert to that, don't you?
What? Revert to what?
Revert to Don Benton. Okay.
Oh.
Look, if you want something
All
current, you're talking about old history there, and you're talking about you don't like his track record, but I can tell you he is in the news now, and your paper missed it. One of the big stories here.
It happened.
He was testifying about this eminent domain that says we will not yield and forfeit the private property rights to TriMet or any out-of-state agency, and he's going to bat. And that's what he's doing. He is a champion for our private property rights.
And he's hitting home runs.
Yeah, why don't you print that stuff?
Oh, well, we print so much stuff. You got to read the paper once in a while. You might find something. Okay, I'm going to move to a close.
A little more of the truth would be good.
Okay. Mayor Leavitt, anything that you'd like to say in closing? Did you have a good time?
I appreciate being part of a conversation that you two are having, sure.
Well, you were part of it.
I know. I know it's a little more difficult to get some FaceTime with Commissioner Madore versus versus me. Yeah,
I would be happy to show up at your office anytime, Mr. Mayor, and your welcome ad is out for mine as well.
Thank you. Let me just say, the city of Vancouver has come out of this recession leaner, stronger, and really we have set the foundation for a tremendous level of prosperity for the citizens of our community. These projects that I've talked about, the waterfront development, the Riverview Gateway, we've streamlined our permitting process, we've reduced our fees for builders and developers, we're tracking how much it costs for us to conduct business, and when we're overcharging, we're delivering back to the people that are paying fees. Our law enforcement, our public, our emergency response, our police and fire departments are stabilized. It looks very good for the city of Vancouver for the next several years. In fact, I'm excited about working with this council because we're going to be able, for the first time in 5 years, get out of the weeds, and we're looking toward the horizon. We're going to focus on what the future of our community, what our vision is, how we get that vision implemented so that our citizens are going to enjoy working, living, and playing right here. And I'm real excited. I appreciate that the voters have returned me for another 4 years. I appreciate that they recognize the difficult job I had as mayor during an economic downturn, the worst that we had seen in decades, and that we implemented some policies that really got the ship straightened out and have set the stage for a great future. So we're going to do great things at the city, and if the county commissioners want to be part of that, we welcome them. There's going to have to be a bit of a change in perspective in some respects and attitude, but we're headed in a good direction, and we hope that the rest of the unincorporated area, particularly the VUGA, wants to come along with us.
Okay, Commissioner Madore.
Well, first of all, I loved 2013, and I'm so excited for 2014. I look at what we were able to. I love local government. I love being a county commissioner. I don't need this job, but I love this job. What would you do if you retired? This is it. Because I'm a problem solver to the core. And let me at it. And to look at the different things in the jobs here. And Mr. Mayor, I really appreciate what you listed there about simplifying the permit process, reducing the fees for employers to be able to encourage them to be able to move forward when it comes to creating jobs for our area. They are the job creators. Some people don't like that term, but they're employers, and employers make decisions. So I listed a few things here. First of all, I look at this. We are doing much better than before the recession in the county. This is a list of, in fact, the county staff volunteered this, in 2007 was the highest in recent history here of commercial construction in unincorporated Clark County. $121 million was the high. Then through the recession, we got on 79, 60,000 or 60 million was the low, and then we actually doubled the amount of construction, commercial construction, from 71 million to 143 million just last year. And that was just the last half of last year when we said, you know what, we're going to take away the deterrence. No more fees for commercial construction. And it took off. So jobs, you want to turn them loose? Remove the deterrence, remove the discouragements. It's working. The fee waivers, you want to start? I want the word to get out. Clark County has become the most business-friendly community on the West Coast. It's a great place to live, and we welcome people here. Flee from California for financial reasons? Here we are. It's beautiful up here. The new vision for the future, I'm so excited. Yes, we can build that bridge, and we will. When it comes to our sheriff's office, not only have we stabilized, we are beefing up our sheriff's office. We expect, and we're on track, to add 8 new officers, deputies, to the sheriff's office this year, and our goal is to do 8 more next year. We've already added 4 more staff members to support the sheriff. We've already given $1.5 million more to have a public records system that integrates with the whole metro area, and he's becoming a happy camper. Okay, he's a hard guy to please. You don't mess with the sheriff. I talked to him the other day and say, I know that you're considering running for re-election, but I'd rather have this good news happen on your watch, where you get your new officers, rather than the new guy to come in and say, I knew how to get the funding from those commissioners. I'd rather that we give him that, because he deserves it.
Is he running again?
He hasn't said. I don't know.
I thought you might have some.
I hope he does. He's been there 47 years.
I know.
I'd love to see him go out with victory and with a smile on his face. He doesn't smile very often, but I'm going to see that smile there when we get him those officers.
You could lend them some of your smiles.
Contagious. I see you're smiling.
You make me smile, Commissioner. What can I tell you?
Well, we like to have an optimistic view of the future, that we can actually accomplish stuff together. And even Mayor Leavitt is smiling. Because when we work together...
When Lou smiles, I smile.
This has been a success. This meeting has been a success. We're all smiling.
And we can, when we work together. And we can actually accomplish things. There's going to be differences, and we get that. But that's all right.
Okay.
That's the people pick the leaders. The mayor... The people picked the mayor and the city council that supports him in downtown Vancouver. I respect that. That's okay. In the county, it's a different jurisdiction, but we overlap. And every city in the county really needs to support him.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed yourself here. I hope we've all been enlightened a little bit.
Thank you for not offering me your stupid cup.
Well, yeah, if I had any advice for both of you, it would be don't do stupid stuff.
I've got some better advice. Let's do smart stuff and ask ourselves, is this an IQ test?
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Mayor Leavitt, Commissioner Madore.
Thank you.
I hope we can do this again soon.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.